The following podcast is recorded and produced by the Podcast Precinct in affiliation with the network at bicbp-radio.com. The Podcast Precinct. Consistency, creativity, culture.
Hello and welcome to the Sci-Fi Update. I'm your host, Tony Harper, and in studio with me today, I have my friend Derek Cummings. He's a big Warhammer thing guy, so we're going to go over Warhammer in this episode. We have a lot to talk about this episode, and I think first off, I'm going to start off with really we need to do better. We live in Buffalo, New York. And there was something tragic that happened just recently. And it's really still insane to me that these things are happening now in these days and times. And I don't want to get too political on here, but as a science fiction community, we can do better. I know we can do better. There's still plenty of books and plenty of material that goes over how we go about better and how to change people's mindsets. And we just need to get more people to pay attention. And that's what I wanted to say on that. All right, so as usual, we're going to go over the news today. I'm doing something a little different than today. I snapped a bunch of pictures on my phone with the news on it, so I don't have to keep writing down notes and that kind of stuff. So see how this goes, and if it doesn't work as well, I'll do it. Derek, feel free to comment at any point in time during the news. I know we didn't really go over what I was going to do to begin with you. I was hoping you would watch at least one of my videos. All right, so
me too. So what do you expect?
Amazon has renewed Upload for a third season. I'm not sure if I mentioned that before, but I just want to put that in there. This one is fun because wife doesn't know I'm getting this yet. Lego has officially unveiled a Transformers Optimus Prime set for $170. It's a 1,508-piece set that you can take it and you can transform it from a truck to a robot without removing a piece of Lego. You do that. So I think it's a really cool set. I want it. You see my Optimus Prime on boxing video. You know I'm pretty big in Optimus. I'm sorry, what were you saying?
I was saying it probably has a lot of movable joints.
Yes, should.
So it's going to be similar to all the Power Ranger toys I had as a kid.
Are you into comic books at all?
I grew up on the comic book shop. I don't know.
Well, have you seen the new Star Wars series, Han Solo and Chewbacca?
The comic book ones? Yeah, I've seen them. I follow a few YouTube pages that actually talks about them all.
Oh, really? So, number 2 is coming out May 18th. So, just let you know, and I'll put up a graphic with the picture on there for you guys. Black Panther 2 is still going to release this year. So, they did not. Oh, yeah, it's November 11th. I was going to say they didn't put a date on here, but they did. It's November 11th. Kind of excited for this still. I want to watch this, and hopefully it does well. I know we kind of touched on this a little bit last week, but I didn't realize how many CW shows got canceled last week. 6 of the DC comic book shows that were on the CW have been canceled. They're mostly mostly stuff that weren't part of the Arrowverse. So anything was Arrowverse was pretty much still going on.
So like that one.
Like what one?
That woman.
Oh yeah. No, I think it was one of the ones that was canceled.
Good. That was bad. That was bad.
Was it?
No, it was bad.
I haven't seen any of these yet.
For a person who's a huge Batman fan, that was bad.
So Christopher Walken will star as the Emperor in Doom 2. Is the second part.
I like him.
I I like Christopher Walken. I think he'd be a great emperor for this movie. So hopefully that works out. I know I have at least one more piece of news before I got into a couple more pieces of news. Before I got into some new books that were coming out. Final Fantasy 16 is still theoretically releasing sometime soon. They don't have a actual release date in the article I was reading, but they are in the final stretch of development. So hopefully it's soon. Star Trek's Klingon helps New York City teachers understand student struggles with learning English.
Hard language to learn too.
It is a hard language to learn, and they're using Klingon as another reference point for the students, and the teachers who have learned Klingon understand the difficulty of learning English because of how difficult it is to learn Klingon. Do you know how to speak Klingon?
No, I only know bits and pieces from the show. I grew up watching.
Well, I do too, but I
mean,
just know
I've seen the
Dave
the
might
entire,
be able to do it.
The entire dictionary at a sci-fi convention back when I was a kid.
Oh yeah,
and it was about that big.
Wow, wow, that's pretty cool.
It was pretty fun.
And another thing that kind of relates to the thing that happened in Buffalo. James Hong finally gets a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. He starred in a lot of shows, so like Chinatown, Blade Runner, Seinfeld, Friends, Kung Fu Panda, Gremlins. He's the guy I'm thinking. I don't have the picture of him on here. I know I saw that earlier, but I remember who he was, but I just can't picture him right this second.
I would have to look at a photo to see who it is, but it's got a hell of a record going, especially with a lot of those I've watched and enjoyed.
You're right.
I love the Gremlins is amazing.
Yeah, he was also Big Trouble in Little Chinatown.
Oh yeah, Big Trouble in Little China.
He was the emperor for that.
Oh, okay. I know who.
Now you know exactly who it was.
Definitely know who it is.
Right. I mean, that was the one I was doing, and I didn't want to say it was him.
Most recent movie that I saw that he did voice acting in because it was just straight up. It was a Pixar movie, which was Turning Red. He was actually the old Chinese man doing the chanting.
Oh, was he?
Yes,
I didn't even realize he was in Turning Red. I just watched that not too long ago with the wife and kids as well. Yeah, it was a pretty good movie.
I liked it. It was probably one of the most Canadian movies that Pixar has ever done.
Why?
Because everything about it was Canadian. It was in Toronto. It was following your typical Canadian lifestyle. Because I go to Canada all the time. My son's Canadian. And just watching it, I was just getting Canadian vibes throughout the entire movie. And I loved every bit of it.
Nice.
It was very multicultural. You got to see a lot of different cultures in it. And it was nice. The choice of time they chose was really nice too. Like early 2002 was a good timeline for them to use to help keep where the whole social media thing when it explodes, so they didn't have to deal with that crap.
Right. Yeah, because that's always kind of difficult to add into shows.
But not even that. It's just when you start adding social media. I mean, you got a little girl, like 11 or 12 years old, turning into a panda, and then you got a mother that turns into a giant kaiju panda. It's going to be all over national news. So for them
they did have it on the phones and that kind of stuff, and that wasn't social media. They covered that in there.
They had it on regular phones. They had flip phones. This was back in 2002, not like Facebook, MySpace, where now you got everyone in the entire world. At least it's easier to hide in the media.
All right. And then some more science fiction books coming out for you guys. We got Time Shelter by Georgie Gospodinova. I'm going to mutilate that. Translated by Angela Rodell. Coming out May 10th. Actually, that was a few days ago. It's Bulgarian to English, and it's about a Swiss health clinic for Alzheimer's patients where they redesign every floor to look like a different decade from the 20th century, and then they start getting they start living in a particular decade from the past. So it's like time travel inside the movie, which is part of the book, which is kind of what made it sci-fi ish. I thought it was an interesting book. Another language. Thought it would be an interesting read. Well, just came out. I'm sure most of my listeners aren't reading half of these books because some of them aren't out yet. Like Garden of Earthly Bodies by Sally Oliver. Traumatized woman begins growing thick hair. Thick dark hair along their spines. Oh yeah, it's like hair coming out of their spines, and it's some kind of interesting, again, experimental treatment that they do that where they make the past and the present overlap in the book. Okay. It sounds kind of interesting.
That's just it's got something else.
Yeah, I mean it's a book, so I like books generally better than the shows. The City Inside by Samit Basu. Near future metaverse is moderated by the reality controllers, like Joey, who oversees live streams of South Asian celebrities. When she hires an assistant named Ruda, the estranged scion of a wealthy Delhi family, they discover a corporate conspiracy that shelters everything that they think they know, or shatters everything they think they know. Sounds interesting. Drunk on All Your Strange New Worlds by Eddie Robinson, something. The way that they write this up is Knives Out meets Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy type of thing. It sounds like an interesting near future thing where a human translator for alien diplomat gets caught up in a murder investigation. So, has a lot of references to Doctor Who and British sitcoms.
I like Doctor Who. Did you see that they got a new Doctor?
Yeah. We mentioned that in the last podcast. If you watched it, you would have known.
Wow. I just saw earlier this week. Well, last week is now 2 weeks. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting. We'll see how long that lasts, how far it goes.
Why?
I know that with the whole writer with Jodie wasn't the greatest, but we're gonna get one of the older writers from when it was the 9th and 10th Doctor, so it should be picking up better, hopefully. A lot of contradiction in the storyline because the Downward Child really contradict a lot of the old lore.
Really? Mm-hmm. I am not a Whovian, unlike Dave Clark. So I don't know a lot about Doctor Who. I mean, I watched it last with the 4th Doctor in the early 90s. That was about the only time frame I started watching it.
Yeah, I started back in the 80s with my dad. Because he used to watch it all the time, especially with the 4th Doctor with Tom Baker.
Yeah, Tom Baker.
That was his favorite Doctor.
So, A Half-Built Garden by Ruth Anna Emrys. A first contact story driven by climate change. Sometime in the late 21st century, aliens land in the Chesapeake Bay area and offer humanity an escape from what they perceive to be a doomed Earth. Our species needs to decide whether to leave Earth or to stick it out.
Stick it out. You make the mess, you clean it up.
And the last one I got, because that one releases July 26th, is 40 by Alan Heathcock. Comes out August 2nd. Civil war between the U.S. government and a faction of revolutionary fundamentalists. The setting for it, and it's a weird novel about faith, family, and the future. Young soldier awakens in a crater to find wings have sprouted from her back, and she's not sure if it's a miracle or a biological experience, but it gives her an opportunity to become a wartime leader and find her missing sister.
So she got wings.
She can fly around.
So she drank enough Red Bulls.
They gave her wings.
They gave her wings.
Right. I take that back. I had one more book in here. Meet Us by the Roaring Sea by Akil Kumarasamy, something like that. An AI trainer in the near future, Ada, in spare time translates a Tamil manuscript written by a group of female medical students in the late 1990s. And it switches between Eda's encounter with future technology and the medical students' attempt to suffer as much as possible in order to understand their patients. Seems interesting as well. All right, and that's it for the news. So today's topic was going to be Warhammer. Derek's my big Warhammer fan. Him and a bunch of my other nerdy friends play this game a lot. I've attempted to play. I've determined Warhammer isn't for me, but if I'm going to cover sci-fi stuff, I have to cover something about Warhammer. So, before we get into all that, we're going to do a little bit of an interview because you're a new guest. Right?
Okay.
What brought you to sci-fi?
Mainly my dad. Growing up, watching a lot of old sci-fi shows. He ran a comic book shop called Comic Castle back in Williamsburg, Pennsylvania.
Oh.
So I grew up in a comic book shop pretty much my entire life up until I was 16. Always reading different kind of comics, growing up playing card games and so forth. So it was kind of like part of my life.
Nice. Favorite sci-fi series?
That's a tough one because there's a lot that I like. If I would have to pick American side, probably Babylon 5.
Babylon.
As much as.
What about Canadian side?
Well, Canadians, I don't think they created their own unique sci-fi.
Stargate SG-1 was shot.
It was shot in Canada, but it wasn't a Canadian-based show because it was being funded by Hollywood, it was U.S. And if I'm correct, what the original.
Isn't Richard Dean Anderson a Canadian though?
He is, but all of it was mainly filmed in the U.S., especially the.
And it was mainly filmed in Vancouver.
It was in Vancouver? Okay.
That's why I kind of thought that might be one that qualified.
Yeah, I mean, I see it as more of an American show, but yeah. I mean,
It's all done by Vancouver Studios and all.
I thought it was all U.S. Okay, never knew that one. Because, like, I mean, I started with the movie, the original movie.
The original movie was shot in Hollywood.
Yeah, which I really enjoyed. It was a good movie. And then you had the book that came out shortly thereafter. It was the second book with the movie, and then we brought out the series.
Right. What's the other question I usually ask? Favorite sci-fi technology? Let's go with that.
I like to say transporters, just because I want back to be able to travel from one spot to another spot. And pretty much a blink of an eye is pretty good.
I think it's pretty good. Unfortunately, I don't think it's science sound yet. So,
no, but it's got its good theories. I mean, if we're able to theorize that work technology is able to be realistic, I think transporters could.
Well, I mean, granted, the sci-fi was out prior to the actual math being out there. So getting the math out there, the problem is math doesn't prove transporter technology will actually work.
I think it will.
So
give it a time. We'll be able to get something like that to work. The only problem I have with transporters is that are you anymore?
Because it completely destroys you in one area and rebuilds you in another area.
Well, in a way, I mean, you're basically turning into data going from one spot to another because it's basically copies and paste you. And going from one spot to another spot, are you anymore? Or is it a new person?
Good question. All right, so Warhammer. What about it draws you in?
Well, I was drawn in back in the 90s when the second edition.
Okay.
So my dad had good connections with one of the other game stores that played Warhammer.
Right.
So I wound up meeting John and Eric, who ran a gaming store. Right now it's known as One Night Gaming Room back in Williamsburg, Pennsylvania. I'm still good friends with Eric. John passed away a few years ago. God rest his soul. He was a great man. So I used to go there every night around 7, 8 o'clock and watch them all play Warhammer. I didn't really start getting involved until my deployment to Iraq back in 2004. I wound up meeting a gentleman from Erie, PA, and we got some on. He was talking about Warhammer. I was like, yeah, I know of it. I never got to play it. So pretty much from there on my deployment, I pretty much got into Warhammer and then have been playing ever since. I just found it that it's interesting just because sci-fi has always been one of my go-to things on a lot of things.
Right.
With Star Trek, Star Wars, Battlestar Galactica, all that.
Yeah.
So there's so many sci-fis that I just grew up watching that I love the 40K version for that reason, as well as able to play something on a table, because it's very similar to D&D, just with a little bit of differences. Instead of being a party with an army, you run as a commander. And I've always been a huge strategist player. RTS, strategy games, have always been my go-to thing. So I enjoy playing games like this so much because of that.
Quickly run through how to play the game. We kind of covered it a lot anyway.
So pretty much to play, you have to build up a force, taking random different bits of pieces of units that you are able to use. You build up a point scheme with your opponent, set up a table, and then you basically lay out your armies, and then each player takes their own turn, slowly moving up to the board to meet certain mission objectives. You can play that, or if you just wanted to play just for fun, where you just kill each other's armies, you play up until 5 turns, and you basically go one turn after another up until either each opponent is destroyed or the 5th turn comes to an end.
Okay. So, what's some of the lore behind it?
There's a lot of lore.
I know there's a lot of lore.
What kind of stuff?
So, like, how did Warhammer become Warhammer? What's the history of it?
So, Games Workshop was a small company out of Britain, the United Kingdom. They started up a shop and they wanted to make a game that was somewhat similar to D&D, but more of an army aspect instead of a party format together. So if you look at Warhammer Rogue Trader, which was first edition, a lot of the game elements was very similar to D&D, but instead of running a party-based element where you had multiple different people playing together as one individual unit, you ran an army. You would have 2 players plus a game master that would help dictate how the game is run. The game master would be the person that would set up the rules, the board, and then they would be able to help both players be able to play the game consistently within the rules that are written. And it would play more of a role-playing style than it is an action style like it is today.
Right.
And the rules were very simple. The story wasn't very as much expanded. It was much condensed. But that was the foundation that they used to grow it what it is today.
So what is the story now?
So what we originally started with was we had the Imperial Man versus Xenos and other forces in the universe, Chaos as well as heretics. So we would later come across the Emperor fighting against one of his own children, known as Horus, which started out the lore behind what would become the foundation of 40K, the Horus Heresy. Horus betrayed his father, was able to get a bunch of people to break it out from the faction and start up a civil war, which led into a huge conflict that lasted 3 years. Which later would come down to the end of the Emperor being turning into a vegetable state. He was mortally wounded by his son, but did manage to kill his son in return.
Okay. I noticed you brought out a lot of these models today. They're very intricate paint details. You even got some like real rock on here.
Yeah, so that model right there is known as the Avatar King. He is one of the gods of the Eldar faction, known as the Craft World. I usually play as Craft World Endin. It's probably one of my favorite armies out of the 40K verse. When I started in 3rd edition, I went up in the Elder Codex and reading the story. I kind of liked the battle that Craft World Endin had to do against Hive Fleet Kraken. The Craft World was invaded by a Hive Fleet, and they were fighting tooth and nail to keep themselves alive. When you see a bunch of bugs jumping on your starship and trying to kill you and eradicate your entire race, you're going to be fighting tooth and nail to live.
What does it take to paint one of these?
It varies. Depending how detailed you want to go, it can take you roughly about 2 hours to 13 hours to paint, depending how well you want to put in.
What do you usually use?
I usually use GW paint, but there's a variety you can use to use instead.
I use like airbrushing, or
I use old-fashioned, just old-fashioned paintbrush. A lot of people nowadays use airbrush to paint,
right?
Which is faster and more convenient and makes it easier. Most of the regular paintbrushes are for highlighting, for final detail touches, but they usually use airbrush to help just get it done faster.
Right. So,
that one right there is a Tempest tank. That is actually from Rogue Trader.
World Trader?
Rogue Trader. It was done by ArmorCast, which is a U.S. affiliated company that wound up reaching out to GW so they can make unique tanks. Because back in Rogue Trader, they didn't really have any set tank designs. People would actually have to make their own tanks from scratch based upon what was written in the Rogue Trader. So ArmorCast made a lot of unique models for people to able to have to play with. And I actually came across that one on Facebook for a few $100. Sadly, the barrels were missing, and I had to use unique methods to convert new barrels onto it. But other than that, it's an old-fashioned model, and it's probably one of my pride and joys that I actually came across.
Wow. What else do we got up here?
So this is my other faction that I usually have. This is pretty much my chaos, but I like to run Fallen Angels instead of your traditional Dark Angels because Luther was right and the Lion was wrong. But I do have Abaddon here as well, but I call him Abaddon because he's not so much of Abaddon anymore because when I got him, he wasn't in the best of shape, but I did convert him to fix him. His sword was all screwed up, his claw was not in the best of shape, so I had to do some unique finding on fixing him, but I did get him done. I painted him in horses, old colors, the Little Wolves, as they were known before they would become the Children of Horus, and then would later become as the Black Legion. So I like the older style, the old color schemes, compared to the more finite of modern days. These ones are painted in the old Dark Ages colors, which Fallen still run around on. I actually designed this tank as being a nice montage to one of my friends who served with me in Iraq. Sadly passed away when I was there. His name was Ryan Ostrom. So I went up painting this, and I actually named it the Ostrom to be a nice respect montage to him. He was a good soldier. He was actually one of the few sergeants that actually took me under his wing when I was over there and treated me with respect. So I have absolute respect for the gentleman.
Is that last one just not finished being painted?
It's not fully completed yet. Every so often I try to get back to him and finish him up. It's supposed to be the round tanks that I use to transport the Fallen. I usually throw a bunch of guys with chain swords, run them into battle, and mow down my enemy.
Alright. So, how long does a typical game last?
A typical game, depending on how you play, can roughly last an hour to 4 hours, give or take, on the knowledge of the players and how much you want to put into it. A small game, like a 500-point game, roughly an hour to 2 hours if you know your armies very well.
So, I know that this is expanded from here to a bunch of other model things. Warhammer is one of the first ones though that did the models and that fighting style, right?
And this type of game style, not really. It became one of the more modern type of game style, but Wargaming has been around for years. If you actually look at old military,
so you're talking like Risk and all that kind of stuff.
Not
right?
even just Risk. Like generals used to do wargaming with their own
models,
with their own unit. Yeah, because if you watch The Patriot and you look at Mel Gibson's character, and he has those little figurines that he's melted to turn into bullets. That is what generals used to have. They would take little models like that, play them on the table. They have a sand table, and they would place each one of those troops on the field and slowly move them and adjust how they would fight their opponent. Sure, it's not played in the same manner of what we do today with dice, and I have an army, you have an army, we have set up rules. They would actually set up an entire battlefield, setting up their opposing player and them themselves, and they would do battle drills by using miniature models to determine how we're going to fight, how we're going to move things once the battle comes. So that would be one of their drills, their early battle drills, before they would have their troops go in the field, practice what they were planning on doing, and then actually acting it out into real battle.
Interesting. I know that there are other games out here because
you got Bullet
Star
Action,
Wars,
Star Wars Legions,
or Armada.
Yep, you got
I
Armada,
got convinced by Bill to go up to Canada to play an Armada game thing, which I did better than he did, and was my first time playing. I thought that was funny. But then also was one of the final determinations, like, I can't play these.
I mean,
it's kind of slow. You got to know the rules a lot and study into that.
Rules.
Huh?
They're very, very detailed rules.
And they are, and I just didn't want to learn all that stuff to play a game. I get it. I mean, the more you enjoy it, the more you get into that kind of stuff. Did you start out painting the models first or playing the game first?
Playing the game first. It's very well known in the wargaming community that players don't tend to want to paint their models. The majority of people, when they look at models they see online and see how detailed and how well they're painted, it's a very discouraging event. A lot of people don't like to paint their models because they don't want to ruin it. Because then if it's ruined, they need to strip it and redo it. And some people actually like doing it. Some people collect. Some people like to paint a lot. Some people like to play. I'm one of those people. Yes, I have a paint plastic models that I play with every once in a while, and I hate it. I do. Because I do like it when my models are painted. It's just.
Do you paint your own models?
I do, actually.
How much do the services go for painting some of these models?
It varies on how much you want it detail-wise. If you want a really well-done detailed army, you're probably looking at a good $100, $200 for a fair amount of units. So if you run, let's say, a regular squad of Space Marines, it can cost you about $100 to get a good 5 or 10 models detailed, if not more, because.
And that's on top of the model cost.
Well, that depends if you already have the models or not. If you already have the models, then I'm going to charge you for the model cost. But if you don't, they charge you the model cost plus the paint they're going to be putting into it. If you want really detailed models and someone else to do all the building in that, you're looking at $300-$500.
All right. Well, I think we beat this part with a dead horse, considering I'm not extremely into this.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to say about this? You got some chance to be on the air?
Well, be the first one is just don't let other people's painting details and their game styles to artists dictate how you're going to enjoy the game. Always find someone to play with that likes to play for fun if you're trying to learn to play. But if you want to get better, you're gonna be dealing with some very strict, detailed players that know the rules on the back of their hands that are gonna role lawyer the entire game. Don't let that be a discouragement. If you're there for fun, play with your community, have fun. If you really want to get competitive, watch a lot of YouTube videos that are out there that go into the details of the game, and just kind of read your book. Enjoy, have fun. That's the overall rule that you would always put in the books.
Always. No. I get that. That's why I was willing to try it out.
Yeah.
Because I thought it could be fun.
It can be.
It wasn't really fun for me, but I can see how it's fun for other people.
Well, see, for some people, it's not fun because it takes too long.
Yeah, that's where
my
the
son.
thing
I tried
is.
getting my son in it, and he did not like how long. He loves his first-person shooters. He loves fast-paced games that can be over in like 15, 30 minutes at that, if not sooner. I like long, drawn-out games. That's one of the reasons why I enjoy playing strategy games, because they can take hours.
Well, I don't mind strategy games. Like I used to play a lot of Civilization and other, like Sid Meier's Civilization.
So Civilization's more of a turn-based strategy game, so it's expected to take long. But there are games that are real-time that can take really, really long. So, like, what's the longest game you've ever played for Civilization?
32 hours.
32 hours. Okay, and that's turn-based. You can save it. And you're usually playing, by yourself or against a computer?
Oh, that was against a bunch. That was
bunch
live.
Live. So you were able to save the game and come back to it, because you probably didn't play that straight.
We did 4 8-hour sessions.
4 8-hour sessions, so that's pretty good. Yeah, because like I play.
It was a marathon.
Oh,
it was like,
It's meant to be a
I
really...
was second place. That was the last one to go.
See, I started with Civilization too, so it's always been a fun game for me. A game that I do enjoy playing, but it takes so long at times, depending on how you play the rules, is Hearts of Iron. Hearts of Iron is a really good World War II strategy, and it's real time. There's no turns. Everything's happening all at once.
Nice. So, what? Let's move on to something else. So, what are you looking for to come out this summer for our sci-fi stuff?
Well, right now, I know it's not going to be coming out anytime too soon because there's two plans that they've been talking about that I've been seeing. One, it was been openly announced. The other one is kind of like rumor mill openly announced because they are looking at remaking Babylon 5, which I would love to see a new version of that.
Are they? Where did you see that?
So, yeah, it's been rumored in the sci-fi communities like Reddit, Facebook, as well as a bunch of other websites that they've been talking about.
I've been looking at some of the stuff. Most of those are just opinion pieces.
But there's actually a little bit of rumors out there.
That's why
I would love the idea of seeing a new Babylon 5. But the one that has been openly announced is Robotech.
Yes. The live-action Robotech
would be awesome. I grew up with Robotech, and then later coming to what would be the 3 different series that were altered by Golden Harmony, if I recall. They went up getting control in the U.S. and changed 3 different animes, and I've seen.
There was 3 different animes that they pieced them together. They actually stitched them together really well.
Oh, they did
to make an entirely different story called Robotech.
Mm-hmm. But for me, it's like once I got a little older and I actually was able to drawn into the 3, I actually really love the Macross series.
I love the Macross series.
I love following Macross. I love Robotech. I won't ever deny that. I think it's funny how they alter 3 different animes, but to go from there into Macross, it was really nice, well drawn to see Macross, the entire original anime, plus the movie that was Do You Remember Love, which was basically an entire movie based around the anime series in a shorter version, plus then you would have the movies and a TV series showing up later.
Do you remember when that releases? Because I'm
which one? Robotech or Macross?
Yeah, Robotech.
Robotech, I think, came out in...
No. Robotech came out in 1990 or 1980.
I was going to say,
82. 83. Fuck, I got the DVD upstairs, or Blu-ray upstairs of the Robotech.
I have it on DVD.
No, I was thinking about the new live action.
Oh, the live action? I don't know when that's going to be happening. I just know that they did mention that they are looking at doing it.
I thought they were, because they were already started casting for this, and it's Harmony Gold that still got it.
Especially like Harmony Gold, I don't like.
Jason Fox has been working on the script. What else did it say? Thought they were hiring things on it. Would you like just there's some kind of like thing they want me to sign in. I'm good. I don't need to sign in. When was that last update?
Very cool about it.
Yeah, there's nothing new on that update. That was still the last thing that I saw. Sony Pictures with Harmony Gold are developing it still. It's still in production. Yeah, I thought there was something else that I mean, they did do some casting for it. Andrew Garfield playing Rick Hunter, Lily Sobieski playing Lisa Hayes, Jennifer Lawrence playing Lynn Meany, Sam Worthington playing Roy Folker, Bryan Cranston playing Henry Govo. He's the captain of the ship, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Tobey Maguire playing Max Sterling. Is this like the... Oh, this is the choices. Never mind. This was not who they picked. Oh, damn it. I hate when a website does that to me.
So, pretty much, It does. They did state that they are going to reboot Babylon 5.
Where?
So it'll be on the CW. So it says news broke in September 2021. The beloved cult sci-fi.
You got to remember,
Babylon 5
a lot of things have
finally
been
received the reboot.
cut this year. Increased
So far,
production costs and a lot of other things.
So they haven't said that they haven't booted. They're looking at sometime in 2023.
And that's why I'm hoping that Robotech doesn't get the...
I don't think Robotech will get a can because I think too many people love that series and grew up on it. That Sony Pictures would actually can something like that. It would be too much of a moneymaker for them.
I would hope so, man, because, I mean, I really do think that is the next golden move.
I think it would be a smart decision. But as long as they don't make any Netflix issues with any adaptations, they should be fine. Because
well, I mean, Sony just bought a Crunchyroll.
Okay.
And they own Funimation.
Yeah,
so
they do own Funimation.
They have really the one and only large anime network.
And I do have Funimation.
Yeah, well, you might as well cancel that subscription and go to Crunchyroll.
If I recall, because the videos ads I'm getting, Funimation is staying. I think what they're going to do
as
is
a separate entity, sort of.
Yeah.
But not exactly. I mean, the limited stuff you get on Funimation may not even be worth it. I don't know.
I enjoy it. I use
You like the dubs versus the subs?
I prefer subs. They actually have both.
I know, but Crunchyroll has way more subs.
Yeah, but most of the stuff I watch on Funimation, I enjoy it. I know my son likes the dubs more. Because he grew up with dub, I grew up with subs.
The wife likes the subs more, just because she doesn't like reading at the bottom of the screen.
I like reading at the bottom of the screen because I grew up on it. Because I grew up with old-fashioned VHS tapes coming from Japan. My dad used to do them all the time.
Yeah, I did too. My dad used to send me a lot of that kind of stuff too on VHS tapes. It's kind of funny.
I still have a lot of them.
I have like 200 VHS tapes and not a working VHS player right now, so
I got a few extra VHS players if you need one.
I might take you up on that.
Yeah. They're sitting back at my mom's, but I could easily pick them up. I have to go down there anyways and grab a few things, so I could probably bring one up for you.
Nice, thank you very much.
Yeah, because I think I got 3 of them that are sitting in the garage because we don't really use them per se.
Nice. So we covered. What's your favorite sci-fi book?
Sci-fi book. I actually really enjoy Starship Troopers as much.
The book itself.
Yes, I actually love the book. The anime was great, which was very close to the book. The movies are decent.
You did the anime because I didn't even recall.
You didn't know? Yeah, there's an anime.
I don't recall seeing the
I think it was like a 9 or 12 episode Japanese animation that was done back in the 80s. I think it was.
Really?
You can find it on YouTube. That's how I found out about it because I was going through YouTube and I was just randomly watching things and it showed up and I was like, wait, there's a Starship Trooper anime? Oh wow! But yeah, I came across the book much later in my life compared to when I watched the movie as a kid. Even though I shouldn't have. It was a good movie. I enjoyed it, and then the book was even more better. Very, very detailed and a lot different. The main character in the movie was supposed to be from South America, if I recall.
Right.
But in the book, he's actually a Filipino.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's a Filipino and not your typical American. So that was a huge change from what the original story was supposed to be. A bunch of other characters were altered throughout too.
Well, yeah, a lot of them did. They Hollywooded the entire cast and everything else. Like they took people that were supposed to be different ethnicities and made them white.
Made all white, yes.
Yeah,
whitewash
everything and freaking
but yeah, the book
not
was
paying attention to. It's just so frustrating about having here too.
I agree. But I would always recommend that the anime as a primary source if you don't want to read it. Watch the Japanese anime.
I'll have to do that.
Yeah, if not, you could always watch the sci-fi version of Starship Troopers, which actually wasn't even connected to the movies.
No,
it was
wasn't.
more towards the book because you end up seeing the Uglies or something. What they were called? They were blue guys.
Yeah, I do remember
their names, but
I don't remember what the names
they were blue like alien. And whenever I first saw them, I can only think of the German song "Blue." because they look literally like the same alien from there. But it was very well done. I liked how the story was written. And I actually have most of the seasons. I don't think I have the final season from that series.
All right.
But I used to wake up.
I've watched a few of the episodes here and there, but I don't know if I was in the military or doing something else at the time, but I didn't watch a lot of.
I used to watch it before going to school because it would be Pokemon at like 7, and then 7:30 I would watch that, and then we would leave right before it would come to an end because I'd have to get to school. My dad would drive us to school before you could go to work.
That always sucked. I'm glad that my shows came on earlier in the morning, like Robotech was on at 6 in the morning. Like I had to wake up early as hell to watch it, but I loved Robotech.
See, I wound up watching Robotech on VHS because my dad had it, and then it would show up on Toonami. So when I would get home from school, it was on there too, so I would watch it there. But they never went beyond pretty much the Macross series in Toonami, which I found interesting. They only did the first story, not all 3.
Well,
if I recall.
See, the other 2 weren't part of the Macross 1 and 2 weren't part of Robotech per se. They were add-on stuff that
they were
Golden Harmony decided to do in addition to the Robotech thing.
Yeah, but Toonami only played the Robotech's first portion. They only did
because
the
they had
Robotech
separate
saga.
licensing agreements for both of them and all that kind of stuff. And actually, I think Japan, because of Robotech, changed their entire copyright law. Like, it's a real pain in the ass copyright law, if I remember.
Yeah, Japan's very strict when it comes to their copyright laws.
Like,
versus
you're not allowed to use, like, even sometimes some of the images when you're discussing things,
or
even sometimes bring it up without violating some of their copyright laws.
Yeah, it's like Dragon Ball Bridge is probably one of the most recent ones that were getting hit by Japan's copyright laws more than anyone that I know recently. I love the Dragon Ball Bridge series, but yeah, Team 4-Star just constantly was getting sued by the original company, if I'm correct, in Japan, and they were like, "We're not Japanese, we don't live in Japan." So, and they were following what U.S. guidelines had, and not so much what Japanese had.
Yeah, well, that's gonna
what brought the series to an end.
Yeah. All right. Any other final thoughts? This is gonna kind of be a short episode. Looking at the timer there.
I don't know. I'll be the first one to say to anyone, like, if they do want to get into sci-fi or, like, young kids, that take them to conventions or comic book stores.
Are you going to? Oh, that's a perfect thing.
You got the Niagara Falls Comic Con that's coming up here shortly.
Yep, June 4th. I'm going to be there. Yeah. I still have somebody working on my shirt. Otherwise, I'd be wearing my shirt right now as soon as she finishes the shirt.
I would love to go, but sadly, I'm not able to go.
Well, I had it off for
a
year. Practically bought the tickets a year in advance.
But no, I'm hoping to go there sometime to go see it because I haven't been to a convention in a long time. The last convention was the Penn College's Comic Con back home in Williamsburg, Pennsylvania. They do it every summer.
Yeah.
I went there. I actually got to meet the actor that played as Tuvok. Amazing guy. We actually had breakfast with him because I worked for the military at the time. We were doing recruiting and retention in the area. We went to the Comic Con to do that. We got to
recruiting and retention.
Yes, I actually did. Yes.
Rick, I don't almost maybe want to do a tour of recruiting.
I actually enjoyed it. 2.5 years of recruiting and retention. I did that for a little bit. We actually would go to Comic Cons, race card events, and so forth to recruit people. But we actually got to see a lot of the other events that were there.
Right.
So I actually had a lot of dinner meals or breakfast meals with a lot of the people there.
Yeah, because I always see the recruiters and stuff like the car show convention in Buffalo, or even sometimes these RV shows that I've gone to. You always see the military recruiters sitting there. I never even thought about them doing some other like Comic Cons and that kind of stuff too.
Yeah, because we're like recruiters. You're trying to get new young people to join the military to be able to help the armed forces. And you'd be surprised at how many people who join the armed forces, they're huge sci-fi, fantasy, whatnot kind of geeks.
the military has gone also from just having grunts to needing a lot smarter.
Yes, they need a lot more
soldiers,
thinking people versus what would be your typical World War II type mentality where we would use cannon fodder. Oh, okay, send in like 100 people to be cannon fodder while we have this other element trying to do something where now we're thinking more strategically on our mentality instead of just sending never-ending wave of people, because we saw what happened during World War II that did not always help.
Right.
It actually caused more harm than it actually was beneficial.
Right. All right. Well, I think this may end it today. I know it's a little bit shorter episode again, and I'm sorry about that. I just kind of knew that Warhammer wasn't going to keep me interested in this. I was hoping to stretch it out for an hour. Didn't quite meet that goal today, but next week is going to be a little bit hard for me. I have to do a 10-day stretch at work, so I may end up doing a solo episode next week. And just record it after work at some point in time down here. Send it out to you guys. I'll think of it this week of what I'm going to do. And then the weekend after that is Memorial Day weekend. I have a long weekend that weekend. I plan on recording at the studio on Sunday. I still haven't gotten a guest yet to come on up there and to talk about it. I still haven't decided what I want to do because Moon Knight just ended. I don't really want to cover Moon Knight. I know Halo's coming up soon, so this solo episode may be Halo, or the Memorial Day weekend may be Halo. It may fit better on the Memorial Day weekend, actually. So I think Memorial Day weekend will be Halo. I got a Star Trek episode I'm still trying to do with Jill, so hopefully I can get her on. And again, thanks for listening. Like, share, and follow on Facebook. I have the YouTube channel. I'm starting to get a lot more views and a lot more listens to things. A lot of people have been viewing the Transformer things, but I got about 5 subscribers now to the YouTube channel, which is better than none. And I'm starting to get a lot more page likes and stuff, so I know it's starting to reach people. Let me know what you guys want to listen to. Let me know what you guys want to hear. Let me know which guests you like, because I want to try to invite a bunch of different guests on. The more you guys like them, the more I'll invite them back. All right, guys. Thanks for listening. Talk to you later. Thanks, dear.
Yeah,
Coming out.